Number one, let's have a wee drum roll. Might not be a player a lot of yous are going to go for, but I'm going for... What's happening, troops? Welcome back to another video here on the SharpDiv YouTube channel. You might notice Walter over my left shoulder looking a wee bit crooked, so I still have some work to do to the backdrop, but I'm going to start changing it up a wee bit and just try and improve it. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comment section below. Now in this video, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be going through 5 players from the Scottish Premiership out with Celtic that I would potentially like to see at Rangers. To be honest though, I'm quite content with the squad that Rangers have got at the moment. I'm only really picking these players if I was forced to. Yeah, so put yourself in that scenario. You need to sign 5 players from the Scottish League. Who are they going to be? And of course it is the January transfer window, so we're just going to have a wee bit of fun today and go through some of these players. Coming in at number 5, it is Jamie McGrath of St Mirren. According to transfermarket.com, he's worth £135,000 so far this season. 19 games, 2 goals and 2 assists. McGrath is my kind of outside player at the moment. Everybody will have a wee player that they're looking at the new in the league out with some of the top teams and thinking to themselves, you know what, he could actually be a player, he could actually do well. Because to me, he looks like a player that shows good potential. The biggest thing I like about him is he just looks comfortable when he's on the ball, and obviously that's something that you need if you're going to be at a club that is constantly dominating the ball. And if you look at some of the signings that Rangers have made in the last few years, you'd maybe rank McGrath above the type of players. And although the stats don't suggest it, I do think he has a wee eye for goal. I seen his free kick there at the weekend, wee bit of knuckleball towards the target, so he just looks like a player that it just intrigues me. I don't know, there's just something about him. Number 4, Kevin Nisbet. According to transfermarket.com, he's worth £450,000. I would beg to differ, to be quite honest. I'm not going to lie, some of these transfer market values I don't think are quite there, but that's what they're saying on this website, so we'll just go off them at the moment. So far this season, 20 games, 10 goals and 4 assists for the 23-year-old. You would be an absolute liar if you've not been impressed by Kevin Nisbet this season. He's came up at a time where everybody thought another player for the Championship was going to come up and steal the headlines. And of course that man is Lawrence Shankland. It's been anything but. It's been the Nisbet show really for the players that have came up to this league, and he's really imposed himself into this Hibs team and into this league. One of the biggest things that I like about him is he just looks like an absolute striker, an out and out striker. He can score with the left foot, he can score with the right foot. Anywhere in the box, if he gets a sniff at goal, you just know he's going to strike it towards his target. And 9 times out of 10 at the moment, he's hitting the target. He's quite a tall lad as well, isn't he? I'd never seen him play up until him coming to the league and playing for Hibs. And I was quite surprised with the height of him, to be quite honest. You don't really see that much from strikers these days. They're usually a lot smaller, nimble, maybe 5'10" to 6 foot or whatever. But he looks a bit above that. Could be wrong, because I'm short. I mean, I'm just, everybody's massive to me, aren't they? So he just looks like a player you can hit it up to, and he can hold it in, he can start bringing other players into play. But another thing that he's good at is actually running the channels. He can get in behind. And some of you might be surprised that he's not in my top 3. The reason he's not in my top 3 is quite honest. I think Rangers are quite shored up when it comes to their strikers at the moment. Moving into number 3, and it is Martin Boyle of Hibs. The 27-year-old has a valuation of £900,000 so far this season. 22 appearances, 5 goals and 5 assists. In the last 18 months to 2 years, Martin Boyle has really stepped up his game. He's taken it to a new level. He's became Hibs' top man, or one of their top man, up until the last guy maybe came in. But he's so important. He's so important to the way that they play. His speed is huge. He's one of the fastest players in the league. If you're one-on-one versus Martin Boyle in this league, most fullbacks are going to be absolutely shiting their pantyhose. And so far this season, what I like about him is he looks like a big game player. Versus the old firm, he's stepped up. In the 2-each draw at Easter Road, he was the man that got 2 assists. He might not have been necessarily that involved in the game, but he committed the Rangers defence when he needed to, and he had the quality to put it into an area that the Hibs player could just run onto and easily kind of put it in the net. So for that, I need to give him big credit, because there's some players in this league that are brilliant, They look really good against certain teams when it comes to the nitty gritty where they need to show up, they just don't. Martin Boyle, I think, this season and bits of last season showed that he can do that. And he's a tricky player as well. There obviously has been rumours of him going to Celtic. I don't think there's been any rumours of him going to Rangers, but he certainly is one of the best players in the league out with the Old Firm, and he would be good cover in the Rangers squad. I don't think he'd be good enough to get into that starting 11, but sometimes when there's a player who's not quite at it, he could be the man to come in and get them perked up again, and I think that he'd be decent at that. Good cover for the Rangers team. Coming in at number 2, it's Lewis Ferguson. The 21-year-old is rated at 1.35 million so far this season, 17 games, 8 goals and 3 assists. Now the biggest thing that I can take out of this season from Lewis Ferguson is that he's took his game to another level. At the start of the season I was questioning, and I've said it many times, him and Ross McCrory, where do they differ? How is he a better player than Ross McCrory? So far this season, I think he's stepped up. He's added more goals to his game, although a lot of them being penalties. Doesn't matter as long as it's in the back of the net. And I really do think he's stepped up his game this season, and he showed why he probably is a better player than Ross McCrory, or certainly has better potential than him. Everybody was scratching their heads when Ross McCrory left, but ultimately probably just wasn't good enough to get into that Rangers midfield. Would Lewis Ferguson be good enough to get in there at the moment as well? I would say no. He could be an option in 2 to 3 years time, but if you had a gun to my head telling me you had to pick some players for the rest of the league to come to Rangers, he would be right in amongst it for me. And I think he's got all the attributes it takes to be a Rangers player. Now, let's not forget, he's just turned 21. So he's so young. He's the youngest of every player by a country mile that I've got written down here. And he already has that winning mentality and that leadership instilled into him. Genetics probably have helped him in this instance, but he's still got to go out there, do the business and show that mentality. And that's one of the biggest things I like about him, his leadership and his tenacity to win. Not to mention he's a big lad, he's physical, loves a tackle, and he's relatively comfortable on the ball as well. He has that eye for goal, which we've seen a number of times for Aberdeen, not just from the penalty spot. His goal at home to Hamilton was an absolute nailer this season, right up there with some of the best goals that has been scored in the league so far this season. Remember his overhead kick as well versus Burnley, so he's got a wee bit about him, Lewis Ferguson, and I like him a lot. Number 1, let's have a wee drum roll. Might not be a player a lot of yous are going to go for, but I'm going for Ryan Hedges of Aberdeen. The 25-year-old is estimated to be worth 450 grand so far this season, 20 games, 4 goals and 3 assists. Now some will be surprised at the fact I've got Hedges up there, but I don't think any of us can dispute that he's one of the best players out with the Old Firm, and he's playing for the best team out with the Old Firm as well in my eyes. Ryan Hedges is a very important part to that. If you're a Rangers fan and you're watching this video, we all know how good he was at Ibrox. Yes, they get absolutely battered, but it was that man, Ryan Hedges, that showed in glimpses what he was all about. He was able to take the ball in deep areas and carry it 15, 20, 25 yards and really commit the Rangers midfield and defence into areas that they didn't want to be. A little bit better with the end product, and he could have got a whole lot more joy against Rangers. In other games though, where he's coming up against weaker midfields, weaker defences, he has been doing that, and he's been doing it very effectively. He's probably a player in the last 18 months since they signed him that you thought he's got good ability, he's got good potential, but he's just not doing it week in, week out. I think that's where he's stepped up this season. He's become a very important player for Aberdeen. He's become a starter as well. I mean, his Barnett's awful. Let's not beat around the bush, but I can't be saying it, and I mean, come on. I need a haircut myself, and there's definitely people with worse Barnetts than him in the league, but he's a player I like. He's got an eye for goal as well. He's good at dribbling. He's a player that you can play in probably a few different formations and a few different positions within that, because he's got good technical ability. And he's certainly one of the most impressive players so far this season. So he's just pipped it for Lewis Ferguson for me in the number 1 spot. And yes, again, I'll reiterate it, this video was just a wee bit of fun. I don't quite think a lot of these players would maybe get chosen by Rangers at the current moment in time, because the squad's flying and they seem to be looking in different areas for players, not just in the Scottish Premier League, but they're options, they're out there. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. I've been SharpDiv, you've been yourself, and I'm out.
All my weakness keep on